This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom. I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow. Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce.
With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done.
Because the system has to collapse before that.
Cheers. I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Boom. We are recording. I told you guys that intro was probably like 2 minutes too long.
I was really hoping you were going to say boom when we got in here, though, after watching that.
We are recording.
Here we go.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me. I'm super excited to have you. Before we get started, something I always forget because I get too excited. We are streaming this live not only on Lunar Crush, but also on Blockchain Radio. So thank you so much to our partners, Blockchain Radio and Lunar Crush. Got my vintage Lunar Crush shirt on. Jealous of Becky's ape shirt, but we'll get there in just a second. Danielle, you actually joined us for part of the show a couple weeks ago. Becky, this is your first time on. Ashley actually is your real name, but your ape's name is Bored Becky. So why don't you start, since you're brand new to the show, to introduce yourself and tell us the Bored Becky Ashley ape story.
Awesome. First of all, you guys can hear me because in between I switch mics. So, okay, cool. Yeah, my name's Ashley. I am Bored Becky on Twitter, obviously an ape. I was very fortunate to ape in early. I didn't mint my ape, but I got in early enough where I was accessible. And that's it. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I am now the official contract holder of Fame Lady Squad. So that's very exciting. Yeah, I mean, I'm a marketer. I'm involved in like leading organizations and doing stuff like that and some communications things. But otherwise, I'm the total noob here, not just the noob on the show, but noob in the space. I'm one of these people who came in because of VeeFriends and Gary Vee. So you know what? It's changed everything. So we'll see where it takes us. But mostly I'm just super, super happy I met Danielle. So that's really it. And I will once say,
it's refreshing to work with someone who isn't like been in the space for forever and to have that outside perspective, and like you still have your like pretty customer service voice and like your
I know.
just all that
That's
stuff
the
that
realtor
people that I
in me.
work with normally have lost. It's a really nice balance, I think.
Cool.
Crypto space is crazy. I feel like I'm on a Zoom call or doing something about 18 hours of the day. And I don't have a voice anymore 90% of the time. I feel like you said that and my voice started getting weird. But Danielle, before we go to you, I already forgot something. If you're watching on one of the places where we're live streaming, like on YouTube or on Twitter or wherever, if you come to meet.blockchainbooze.io, you can get into the chat, you can ask questions, you can hang with the community, and when we're done, you could even break off into tables and hang out. But go to meet.blockchainbooze.io because you can start asking questions in the Q&A like some of the crew is already doing in there. Danielle, tell the crew about yourself.
Yeah, so Oddly enough, I'm an OG in the space now, which is so weird to say because I haven't even been in crypto for a year, but I've just been involved in so many projects and whatnot. Compared to most people, I have, been around the block for a while. Probably about 2,000 NFTs in my wallets combined. Work done, tons of different projects. Mentored a lot of artists, which to me is a lot more exciting than the projects. Just super excited to be working in a position where we already have, this strong community, and I feel like we can really make a huge difference here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started following you on Twitter over the last year and all the stuff, seeing you participate in the communities, and I think that's the big thing within the space, right? Like, the more participation people actually do, and it separates the shillers from the real people, from the
Absolutely.
bots and the people just trying to pump stuff. And it's
Yeah.
clear when a situation like this happens who the real people are, because everyone starts going like, well, what are they going to do about this? And so I think a lot of people who are watching, right, there's going to be a bunch of people who are part of this NFT community. Last week we were talking apes, so everyone's sort of familiar in that community and everything. But I would love to, from your guys' perspective, tell the Fame Lady Squad story, at least at a high level, so that all of the community that hangs out that maybe doesn't know NFTs the way we do or aren't in the community. So I saw it kind of happen live it's only been like a week and a half maybe?
Not even
a week.
Right?
Like 6-7 days
a week. I was listening to that on Spaces when it was all uncovered live. While
that's how I found out about it too.
Yeah, so it's been like a week. There was a big dramatic thing happen in the community, and Fame Lady Squad, we all thought was over, right? It was dead, and you guys have brought it back to life. So give the community the story.
Well, I mean, I suppose I could start if that's okay. I mean, I minted some Fame Ladies the day of the launch. I didn't know much about it at all. I actually remember saying on Twitter, like, "What is this? Tell me more about it." And the sales happened very quickly. Like, I think they sold out a lot quicker than they had anticipated. Danielle, you can give me the time frame. It was probably about a month or so ago now. And it was, for me, my very first project minting anything in mass. Like, not, I'm not like a huge bag carrier of this thing, but I've got, now I have probably about 23 or so of these Fame Ladies. I minted some. I looked and saw, I thought the art was cool. I started looking at, this project represents having more female representation in the NFT space. So for those of you who are not familiar, it's a collection of 8,888 female avatars. They're pretty badass looking. They're really cool. And that's what struck me at the time. It was accessible. I liked what it stood for. I knew nothing, and I recognized at the time I knew nothing about the people behind the project. I was comfortable with that because I had some apes and I was feeling like I could take a little risk. And that was really it. So, it was picking up steam. There was some drama around it early on in terms of how impacting sales. And really, at the end of the day, the community in the Discord, and I think Danielle will be able to speak to this a little bit better than myself in a minute here, but just really came together. You could tell a lot of these holders were there because they wanted to support what we all thought the project represented, also being, as far as we know, the first all-female avatar project. Okay, so anyways, time flies by, and suddenly we all hear on Twitter Spaces that there's a strong belief and evidence that the developers and the team are not who they said they are. Turns out they're Russian men from Russia. And
but not, yeah. And they also, just to add even more color, what people were saying was they were responsible for like a bunch of these projects. And and there was all sorts of shenanigans going on in between each of the projects too, right?
Yeah, and to be really fair. I don't really know much about that side of it. I can only really speak to the Fame Ladies experience because it's the only project I was really engaged in and paying any attention to. That being said, you know, as the weeks were going by, what a lot of people felt, myself included, was that the team was a bit MIA. They were not responsive. It seemed like they were scrambling a bit. It did seem like they were probably distracted or over their head. And I was kind of trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe they're young, that they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. So that disconnect with the community was strongly felt. And there was some concerns, like, are they who they say they are? Why won't they hop on a live chat with us, even just voice? And so I think there was some suspicion. Anyways, so everything happens. Apparently they're connected with these other projects. So obviously they've just had a lot going on. They're trying to be highly involved in this NFT space and make a bunch of money. And I'm getting DMs. I'm literally I'm in my car. I'm in a parking lot outside the grocery store, and a few key people I've gotten to know in this space message me, "Sell your ladies." and they're like, "Listen," and I tune in and I'm messaging the
by the way, to everyone in the community, when you find out somebody's a scammer, don't dump on your friends. Like, that's essentially what you're doing. Just hold on and you take the loss, please.
Yes.
That's the right thing to do. Just FYI, everyone.
That's how I felt. I mean, it's new, right? But I did feel some, and I think Danielle maybe too, like some, not responsibility or accountability, but just some ownership, you know, like we had been engaged. I know at different points of time we had like promoted the project, promoted the art. I was having some fun with Photoshop. I'm like an amateur Photoshopper. So I was, you know, placing the head on pictures and posting it out there, and people were liking it and whatever. So I did feel I didn't want someone else to pick up my stuff just to lose out. So that's, you know, that was just my
even more bad. Like, we got scammed and now I scam somebody else on top of it. That's just
And you know, I get the visceral reaction and why you might want to do something of that nature. But I'm just sitting here watching this unfold. My partner's at home waiting for dinner. We had company over, and I'm just like sitting in the parking lot listening to this live stream, DMing the team on Twitter saying, "You guys got to hop on this live right now. You have to tell everyone who you are." And they're like, "Oh, we don't want to be associated with these scammers." Anyway, I don't want to get too much into that, other than that's what prompted me to put out a video on Twitter and just say, "Hey, you guys, I'm so sorry. This really sucks. I've created a Discord channel," because it crossed my mind, and some other people had mentioned, like, the Discord could disappear out of nowhere, right? We didn't know, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. And so just created this new Discord, and people were flooding to it. It was awesome. Meanwhile, here I am trying to have company over at my house, managing this. Thankfully, we did bring in another member of the team, formerly Data Lady, now Data, because he is a gentleman. So full disclosure, but he was really involved in the project throughout, and he was quick to say, "We need to talk to Danielle. She needs to be in on this." Thank goodness, because I, you know, have followed Danielle, but I didn't know her in any real way. And that really is, I think, the beginning of this story. And maybe Danielle can add anything I missed and take it from there. And I'm gonna have some beer. I switched from wine to beer. Sorry.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's been super
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's been a crazy emotional week with everything that happened. I think for me, I felt extremely guilty when I joined the Twitter Spaces. At first, I was defensive because they were calling me out, like, by name, saying she retweeted several of these projects.
I just want to say I was trying to be a good wingman, and I requested to speak. I was driving at the time too, and I requested to speak, and they never let me on stage in the period of time where they were calling you out and you weren't coming on stage because maybe you were busy or trying to figure out what the hell
I was
going
trying
on.
to figure out how to get up there. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I was trying to get on stage because I wanted to just say, just remember, Danielle is a real person. She shows up to things and she'll clear it up. Like, And
yeah.
I trust
Well, and
her.
luckily I
Like,
did get
wanted
a chance to get up there. It took a while, so like, you know, who knows if everyone that was there for the first
No,
part
I
was there
think
for
I
the
think it was
second,
fine.
but
You know, I think that people assume, and it's actually a bad assumption. I said this to I you know, I'm very transparent and say everything publicly anyway. So like I said this to our friend Jason, who does the Hustle House, him. And I said you have to be careful in all of these different situations. Sometimes like random people DM you or just friendly on Twitter or whatever, and like, hey, will you promote this or will you want to do this? And you're like, sure, cool, that looks radical. Like, but
well, and that was some aspect to it
like
too,
this,
because a lot of them were new accounts and they're just like, hey, check this out. And like, I looked at it, I was like, okay, it's cool. You guys are donating to good purposes. Like, I don't really have time to look into it, but retweet.
People in the community assume you like are getting paid by them or something like that. And so they're like, well, Danielle did due diligence on them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, right? Like, if these people are,
Yeah, and well, and another part, like anytime we were in the Discord, there were so many people hopping in there saying, "This is my first time NFT. This is my." I sent my wife her first NFT, my daughter her first NFT, and like the first day after I realized that it wasn't what it was, like I just kept thinking about those people with those sitting in their wallets, and they might never buy an NFT again, or they might just be super discouraged, or it's like their first rug pull. Like I didn't want to be associated with that, but also I just didn't want them to feel that way. Like they bought those NFTs for the right reason. They wanted to support a female cause, a super supportive female community, charities that are associated with, things associated with females. And it just like, they did that for the right reasons, regardless of those three men who did whatever they did.
People that are watching, at least in the blockchain boost community, know that my kids are super into NFTs, and we've spent the last year and a half goofing around. My son doing his poo-poo.eth NFTs, my daughter doing hers. Shout out to Rainbow Unicorn, by the way. And they do NFTs and they have fun with it. But like I will say that when I saw the Fame Lady Squad thing pop up on one of your feed or one of our friends on Twitter's feeds, and I saw that during the minting, I minted a bunch because I called her over and she was stoked and she was like, oh my God. And then, a week or two later, there was a few of the copycat kind of ones. And so they're like, like my wallet's full of them, my wallet.
I know, mine too.
Public. It's on my Twitter account, so it's public, and you'll see, and my daughter was so stoked. And so I told her, I was like, oh, it turns out it wasn't the real thing. And I joked with her, I said, you got to do something about that. And then you guys are coming in to save the day. So tell us, what happened, because once everybody figured this out, all I then knew, all of a sudden I was seeing on Twitter that they were going to transfer over the controls of the contract to you guys. So tell me how did that work? Both from a negotiation standpoint, but also from a technical standpoint. I might be the only one who cares about that part of it, but it's interesting to me.
Well, I think there was a 1-day window in between us kind of coming together and then this whole contract transfer transpiring. Now, so Danielle and myself and Saul, the data lady, and a few others who have been mods and really engaged in the community, we basically came together. We set up a Zoom. We made sure we were all who we thought we were, and we said, let's figure something out. We don't know what it means yet. Let's figure out, maybe we can do a drop. Maybe we can do something for lady holders. And it was, obviously it sucks when people lose value or lose money, and that feeling. But I think what we really were hoping to do was raise the morale, and let people feel. And to Danielle's point, like this was a lot of people's first NFT, and it's kind of that loss and feeling of loss in humanity, right? So we were really looking to see, what can we do? How can we create something? And so these conversations were happening, and suddenly I'm look at my Twitter and I see I've been tagged a million times. And Art Chick, man, she came through. So We know she's a bit of a controversial figure on Twitter, but I'm going to say she kicked ass and really, like, if it wasn't for her, we would not be here. And she obviously carries a lot of clout and has some authority and was able to be a little bit aggressive, more aggressive than myself anyway. So she said, hand over the contract. Hand it over. You guys suck. And they said they would. And the community said, oh, well, hand it over. It was just a timing thing. Hand it over to I am Bored Becky. And I think it really just had to do, frankly, with that video that I had released. So it was just this like chain of events that all worked out. And that's my takeaway is sometimes you don't really know what you're going to do. And just putting that positive energy out there can be really great. So she messaged me. She's like, I'm sorry to bring you into all this drama. I said, no, I don't think you did. So within 12 hours or so from that moment, they did. They sent the contract to her, and then she sent it to me, to my wallet. So right now it lives in one of my secure wallets. And since then, we've had to figure out the logistics between the three of myself, Data, and Danielle. We've created a multi-signature wallet. We've been able to forward the royalties to go to this new wallet that requires 2-3 signatures. We haven't received any royalties yet, but we will. And we will probably move the actual smart contract into a multi-signature situation soon too. We just have some technical things we need to look at with the art before we do that. So that's really it. That's where we are. And Danielle, you can add anything because you're the one that understands all this. They are walking me through. I'm like freaking out, just even using my ledger. Like every time I use my ledger, I'm still nervous. And anyways, and
just like logistically speaking, when they keep saying send the contract over, but really the contract stays in the same place. It's just the authority to access it is changed.
That's what I was worried about when they were what I was worried about, to be honest, and I said something. I like responded to the Twitter thread, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud. Like, I don't. But what I was worried about is if you've been in crypto for a while and separate from NFTs, there's been lots of rug pulls and scammers and people who do crazy shit like this, and teams that just launch token after token. One of them takes off, or a couple of them take off, and they basically print money and steal money from the community, and it's not cool. And when I saw on Twitter that they were going to transfer the contract, or at least the ownership of the contract, to one of you, and but it wasn't done yet, I was super scared that they were just pulling a secondary, like, oh,
lot of people were
people to start buying Fame Ladies again. We'll dump what we hold or whatever. And then I thought they might not ever transfer the ownership. And that's
it was hard to sleep that night because everybody had that same concern. And like, I wanted to be positive, but at the same time, I didn't want to put any of that negativity out there because who knows, they could change their mind. They're very young, and they were in a stressful spot, and I feel like emotion was definitely leading their decisions at that point. And the last thing I wanted to do was feed into that and make things worse.
Yeah. We were trying to be as upfront with people as possible, especially in the Discord, that, nothing's legit till we have it. Make decisions at your own risk. If you want to bet on it, that's okay. But just know that we're not saying we have it yet. And we're really happy it worked out. Obviously, there's still a lot more work to be done moving forward. But I think that's been the key thing for us is communication with the community is number one. When we don't know something, let them know. Because we can't make a million decisions overnight, and that was the big one. So, it's a neat story, and we're hoping it's gonna have so far it's got a happy. This isn't the ending. This is just the beginning, but. Anyway.
I don't think any of us really would have even thought to ask them for the contract if it wasn't for Art Chick. We were planning on something new, because who would think to ask someone, hey, this project you just made $1.5 million on, you want to just hand it over to me now that you're not going to make it? No one would have thought that would have happened.
Well, I think they found a way to sort of redeem themselves, and at least deflect the attention, which, you know, is probably a good thing. And they, you know, on one hand, like, if they, it's not cool to, like, in the way that they did it, because, like, if I say I'm an ape and it's my persona that I'm an ape and I did an ape thing, nobody's gonna go like, well, was there actually an ape at a zoo that minted those NFTs? Of course not, right? That's ridiculous. And so you can say, oh yes, like, look, there's other groups that did these pretend personas, and we were just pretending to be 3 women, you know, or whatever. Like, that's like, takes it to, that goes from fun imagination to scammer, right? And so they didn't want to be known as scammers, and they were trying to say, at least, right, that they did it just because it's a fun thing.
It
But
also sets a scary precedent that you can just like build up this super successful project and then pass it off and not take responsibility for the follow through.
Well, you know, there's it'd be really interesting just to kind of see what exactly, you know, the legal issues are, because in this case, right, there isn't it's not like a security or something like that, where on one hand most of us believe that the SEC oversteps their bounds in regulating securities and all that, but the one good thing about it is that when somebody actually defrauds people, they can get thrown in prison. In this case, I don't know if there's any precedence of they're in other countries, so, you know, it is.
I mean, the thing is, though, they built a roadmap that they followed through on. They promised NFTs that they gave people. The only thing really that they did wrong was lie about their gender. And I don't know really like the legal ramifications of that, especially in the US where you can claim you are other genders.
Yeah, but they're not trying to claim that.
Right.
They're not going that far, are they?
No,
they haven't.
I think like what we've been focusing on is like we haven't been dissecting why they did what they did. I think at the very
why they did it, because they knew it would be a way to make money. And
it's fair, right? Like this is the Wild West, and I guess maybe judgment aside, we're very pleased that they've been cooperative and
continue to be. Actually, today they just sent us the layers for the art.
Yeah, so I think our key thing is for everybody. The takeaway is for like the community and for developers to think about these things moving forward and to be thoughtful about, you know, how you represent yourself or how you're choosing to buy into projects. Like, I think that's the big takeaway more than worrying about what people did and why. It outlines that like there's a lot of, you know, people are doing whatever they want out there right now. And you got to be, there's so many projects. You got to be really thoughtful.
I will tell you that when my son was doing his poo-poo.eth NFTs, some of the tweets I would tweet about it when he was like in bed at night and go like, oh my God, this is what happened. I'd tell people kind of like behind the scenes. And then when I was tweeting about it during the daytime, I would have him actually type out the tweets. Like, that was part of the thing, was when he was minting his NFTs, when he was doing his airdrops and whatever, I made him sit at the computer and do it himself. And then I stood behind it, right? And I just like, hey, click on that. Oh, do that. And it was like part of the fun experience. But so many people would DM me or reply to the tweets and be like, yeah, right, this is you just like pretending to be an 8-year-old. Like, no.
Well, there have been, I mean, to be honest, because I've only really gotten in a few projects and paid close attention, you still see the like project of the day kind of passing by, and this type of questions about people's age have come up, like things that people think matters, and I think part of the reason some of this stuff matters more right now than maybe it will in the future is because of this idea that you might have a collectible that means something. It was the first, it was the OG, it was like, you know, setting some new precedent.
You think of it as it's a collectible, right? And it might be a piece of art, and that has its own things that go along with it. It might be something like this, which is more akin to a baseball card or a comic book card or something like that, but it's like a one of one, so you feel like I've got the one and it has the rarity levels and all this stuff. So if all of these stats matter, and then you find out one of the stats or one of the things was like a lie, then it's like the dude, it's like the baseball player that took steroids, right? Like it's like that doesn't really count, you know, there's the asterisks, right?
I had some comments I was going to throw out on Twitter when this was all happening. I'm so glad I didn't. And like, I kind of, just to Danielle's point, we wanted people to be cooperative. And I'm not like a toxic type of person in terms of like public, you know, discourse, but there was some real Milli Vanilli vibes going on here. And I don't want to age myself, you know, like their Instagram, you could tell now looking back, man, there were not ladies behind that IG account.
See, okay, on that side of that though, I know of some female artists that make art that looks very similar to that. And they do tend to be outside of the US and very young and maybe trying to appease a certain audience that they're not familiar with. But I see it all the time. So to me, it didn't raise any flags.
It reminds me of what you were saying about being, I was like a punk rocker growing up and I was super into it. And I will say that the younger the kids were, and including me in their phases of participation, the more offensive they would be and the more crazy they would be and say nutty things, right? And the logos of their bands and the names of their bands would be more and more extreme and offensive on purpose. So there is something to maybe that, but it's still, in hindsight, some of the stuff doesn't.
I'm not even talking about anything offensive or even the boobies. Everyone keeps talking about the boobies. I'm legit just talking about their IG game was just not strong. And if they were female, I just feel like, and maybe it's because they're young, because now I'm at the end of the day, the Gen Zers, they're not there.
So my IG game is not strong.
Okay,
what are you saying?
It's okay. Well, we're working on that on our end, so it's all good.
Hey, so somebody did just ask, I'm jumping into the QA. Actually, let me just really tell the people who are watching on one of the streams, remember what I said earlier, meet.blockchainbooze.io. You can chat with a bunch of people in the community right now there. And there's a QA going on. So if you have any specific questions, jump in there. But one of the questions somebody asked, and I think you've already answered, but maybe just to clarify so people understand, is they asked, do you guys somehow own the project now?
We own the project. We're still getting legal advice around IP, and not everyone owns their tokens. Everyone owns the commercial rights to their NFT. We're thinking more about the bigger picture, the name, the sort of those things. And so we have changed our handle on Twitter, which can be a little confusing because we did not get their old Twitter account. We had this Pheonix NFT, Project Pheonix Twitter account, which was really launched before we got the contract and whilst we were figuring out what the hell we're doing. So we are, by the way, at fame_ladies on Twitter officially now. So please do follow us. But you know, we are thinking, we were considering a strong name change. I think at this point we're not heading in that direction. We've kind of created some flexibility should we feel we need to at some point do something. And that's really just around owning the IP. And I think at the end of the day, what our objective is to create something really long lasting.
Did I do that right, by the way?
Yep.
I'm trying to point. There we go.
Yep. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, we want
ladies on Twitter.
There we go. Yes, thank you. We want to create something long lasting and successful and worth something. And so, you know, we're still grappling with understanding, you know, what risk there could be moving forward. Right now, we actually feel there's not a lot of risk based on most of the advice we've been given, but you know, we now see our community as stakeholders, and not just the community we have today, but the community that builds over time. And so we're really thinking about how do we protect them? How do we make sure that they have something of value moving forward? And how do we create opportunities for them too? And so, you know, companies aren't going to want to get involved with the brand unless you have the rights to it, etc. So those are the things we're looking at. But right now, where we've kind of placed ourselves, we're very comfortable, and we're going to continue looking at it.
is the premise behind these as well, like kind of like the apes, where if you own that particular NFT, you have the rights to use the likeness and all that stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's super.
And that's
cool.
what Yeah, and that's what we love about this art. It's got a real kind of comic book vibe. It's got a lot of versatility. It's quite simple, the artwork, which I think allows you to do a lot with it. It's really easy to just pull out that background and use your lady. And we're going to look for ways to help empower our community to know how they can use their art better. We don't have anything specific to say about that right now, but that's something we're thinking about a lot of, so that way if they want to create even more value, that they have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's something we learned a little bit about last week on the ape community talk with, the Hustle House, Jason, who does the Boring Show. And he was, he was all about talking about different ways. And he convinced me when we were DMing and stuff, I made there's a thing, and I shared it today so the people in the community can see a first version of it, but it was really low quality and low effort in terms of the audio, as you could hear. But I took the ape and I had a friend turn it into an Adobe character creator puppet. And so I could actually make it my camera and be speaking as my ape live on the thing and move, and all that stuff could actually happen live. I'll try to do that one of the future shows, but it's really cool. And so I was joking about it that, now imagine other people doing that, or having a show where all three people are the apes talking to each other, or me, or my ape playing the Blockchain and Booze theme song on a future episode, or something silly like that. You could do all sorts of derivative works and cool things like we've seen people do.
Yeah.
I think you could do the same with your ladies, which would be really, really fun. Interesting.
We agree. We think so too. And I'm gonna have to contact Jason the ape.
He's awesome. No,
he's
Jason,
gonna have. He's gonna have. Well, I've been on the Boring Show. I don't think it's been long. I don't think it's been released yet. Well, Becky has been anyway. But yeah, I love that idea, being able to play with your avatar that way. It's so cool. That's so cool.
It's super, super cool. We more people need to do it. Now I'm just gonna really quickly I'm gonna answer this question because it's similar to the previous one. Oh, actually no, it's you guys now, because you have the contract, you have the ability to collect the commissions from OpenSea and all that stuff. But somebody asked if you still take the same commission on the trades as before.
Yeah, so right now, firstly, we did have a town hall with our community yesterday, and it was really just to connect with them, make sure everyone understands what's kind of going on. We have not made any changes to the royalties. It's not high. It's 2.5% at the moment. And we're still figuring out.
Isn't it? Is that normal for these kind of things? Or it seems low to me, but artists usually do like 10%, but I don't know if that's, 10% seems high for something like this. So, but
I would say usually it's between 4 to 5%. So it is a tad low. And we have discussed maybe raising it, especially because, we don't have any other funds right now to work with, but it's definitely not a decision we would make without the community's input.
Cool.
Yeah, right now.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, right now, we're all volunteers. We're not taking any income. We're going to figure out, what kind of maybe charitable endeavors we can be involved in. We obviously need to invest back into the project. What a lot of people may not be thinking about, even though we have some pending royalties that will be coming even from before all of this transpired. We didn't get the seed money from the launch, right? A lot of these projects launch, they get, this was around $1.5 million. We didn't get any of that. So, we're obviously going to be thoughtful about this moving forward. We've had people make suggestions, but, TBD on that pretty much.
Cool. Yeah. Somebody just asked a quick question. I'm going to partly give my comments on it before you even answer, because I'm somewhat of an expert on some of these topics, but they said, can you use the new contract to redistribute commissions to the Fame Lady Squad holders or do some kind of agreement? What I will say is they shouldn't do any redistribution of commissions to the holders, because then you go from having an NFT that's just an NFT to having a security, and then Danielle and Ashley will get themselves in securities troubles. So no redistribution of funds or things like that.
It's a very a lot of people haven't talked about that, but it is a thing. Also, buying your own floor and is considered price manipulation. Like, there are a lot of things that people don't consider when creating their roadmaps, and just people who don't look at things thoroughly. And you know, that's a problem we have.
Well, the average person doesn't know these securities laws, and not saying that like they're not smart or something, because most of the securities laws are total bullshit. Like, they don't make sense. They're not actually fair. Like, it's not one of the reasons why I'm in the crypto space is because of this, right? When I started my last company, or my first real startup company, it was over 10 years ago now. And I had no idea that the whole premise of the company was totally illegal. But when I found out it was illegal, it really pissed me off. It was like, that's completely un-American, right? Like, the idea that a startup or a small business or a person can't go on the internet and raise money from their friends and family to start their business is just crazy. But those are the securities laws we're dealing with. And we don't want any of our friends to get sucked into that world and have to deal with the consequences of doing something like that. And essentially, by redistributing funds and things like that, it would be similar enough to a security where lawyers will go nuts.
Well, and I think that's a short-term way to raise the value of a project, is by saying, okay, 1% is going to go back to you, when you could be building something that long-term has a lot more value than the few dollars everybody's going to get.
It's the beauty of NFTs in general, right? Like, you get in the next airdrop of some of like the crowns or whatever, or things like that. And I know that some of the community wasn't super happy with the quality of that.
I was one of them.
It doesn't matter, but the idea is that the best way to raise the value of a community is to actually have an active community. Like, my favorite thing that Lunar Crush says, and I'm pulling on their shirts, right, is that without community, there is no crypto, right? Yeah. And the biggest and best projects in crypto are the projects that have communities. I mean, look at Dogecoin, for example. Like, it doesn't make any sense that it's worth it. It never made sense. I think that people who think it's the biggest thing in the world, if they said it before today when there wasn't a community, they're full of crap. But
that's why the Fame Ladies were worth saving, though, is because they had that community to begin with.
But the community has grown, and now there's something there, right? Whether you agree with certain things or not, the community is the thing. So the fact that there's 3 people leading the charge at this community, and there's something there, gives it some value. And of course, full disclosure, you all know I hold them, so I'm saying it because I like it, but I don't sell anything. You'll look at my wallets.
I know, I never do either. So, I marry everything I buy.
So you know, saying that's the value in a community. I think what you guys plan to do in the future, you know, by the way, I'll throw this out there because you mentioned airdrop and this and potential ideas and whatever. I did an airdrop last week, and a very tiny vocal minority of people were pissed off at me for doing it in the Bored Ape gang, but 99% of the feedback I got was super positive and fun. You know, I didn't, I spent too much doing it, and so it is what it is. But if you guys plan on doing any kind of airdrop, I'm happy to sponsor it or kick in or help you, because I just went through figuring out how to do an airdrop to every single ape holder.
I received one.
Yeah.
And
that was really fun. That was an experiment that I tried to do actually weeks ago on Matic without the ape community or anything like that.
Matic is a mess.
I tried to mint NFTs on Matic and then airdrop them to thousands of people. Like, that was it. And literally the first version was just a handwritten note of me saying, sorry, you got this NFT. I'm experimenting and wanting to learn how to do this thing. And then when we were going to do the Bored Ape blockchain booze, I finally had a real excuse to do it, but also I thought I had figured it out, and I figured it out.
I have a dumb, may I ask a dumb noob question? Because I've received a few airdrops. Like I received yours and it made sense to me because there was a lot of context, right? Like I knew where it was coming from. I've received some airdrops that I'm scared to even click on because I don't even know. I have no idea where they came from. I'm scared there's something in there that's going to expose me.
Yeah, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, but because you're going to get tokens. Like in Ethereum wallet, in any kind of crypto wallet, you're going to get tokens, right? And if I look at an older wallet like mine, for example, and I look at my Zerion, look at it on Zerion. I don't know if you use this tool called Zerion. It's awesome. Check it out. If you have tokens that aren't just NFTs, check it out, because what it does, it's kind of like a cool dashboard for what you actually have in your wallet. So you're not like trying to figure out what you even hold or own or whatever. But that's more for the crypto and DeFi side of things. If you look below the fold tokens on there, there's so much shit. I have probably 50 tokens I never heard of, some of them with super offensive names, crazy weird stuff, right? And the same thing happens if I look at my wallet on OpenSea. The other day, because somebody gave me a little shit for doing the airdrop, I was like, what tokens do I have in my wallet that were unsolicited? And I have one called like the People's Potato, and I've got like all these just stupid random crap in my wallet. And
it's worse on Wax, to be honest.
On Wax, it's even
thousands
crazier.
of unsolicited NFTs on Wax.
But the whole thing is that it's a feature, not a bug, right? The whole point of having the ability to do something like that is a part of having this system, right? And where it's going to be important in the future is like OpenSea is going to have to create something that maybe really egregious stuff they just hide completely, but maybe they give the opportunity for the wallet holder to just hide certain things from their view, and it's more of a user experience, user interface kind of thing that has to be fleshed out, especially because for every junk NFT you get, one, they're not cheap to do these airdrops. Even on Matic, on the cheaper networks, it's not cheap and easy. So somebody has to be motivated. But even then, like we saw with Fame Lady Squad, there are scammers and there's people doing shady things. So even if 1 out of 10 is a genuine, good, cool thing that's being done, what if you guys, without the permission of Fame Lady Squad, decided to launch your own thing, and then decided, because of how shitty that situation was, you decided to give every person who participated in the original Fame Lady minting process an NFT.
And that was a plan of ours, actually, at one point.
Yeah. So according to a lot of people, that shouldn't even be allowed, right? Mm-hmm. Like they don't want anything unsolicited showing up in their wallet. But that's not how this shit works, right?
Yeah.
So by default, anyone can do that. And if you were doing something like that, I would want it in my wallet. And I think 99.9% of people would want it in their wallet. So you have to allow it, whether you like it or not, it's going to allow it. So what I'm scared of happening if people try to police it too much is that good people like you will end up not doing it because you'll be afraid to
I've had problems doing it with OpenSea. I have done large airdrops on Polygon.
Yeah, maybe you're not the right person to talk to, because I have like 5 or 6 NFTs from you I didn't ask for. I'm happy I have them.
I might have dropped 1.3 million NFTs in one day.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
This is why I'm happy to have Danielle, because I'm just like, she's OG, man. This is awesome. Seriously.
I actually remember you had one, it was like around Halloween time or something, with like a skeleton face. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a really cool one that my son and daughter thought was epic.
The zombie ones that were
yes. They're like a zombie on the computer during the
Altcoin Addicts Anonymous and Pineapple Addicts Anonymous.
The pineapple one, because it was the meme community stuff, and my son was so into that. But what I was saying though is that what will happen if too many people are vocal about no spamming, no airdropping, whatever, the good projects won't want to airdrop because they'll be scared to piss people off.
Yeah.
But the scammers and the bad people are going to do it anyway. So instead, we're just going to have a bunch of spam and none of the good things. or deal with the spam because we get the good things. So that's
how I feel
why
about the 100 ETH minimum for verification on OpenSea as well. Like scammers,
they have that's a crazy verification.
Yeah, so think about all the small artists that for months have been selling art and have nowhere near touched 100 ETH.
I would bet
they actually removed verification from people that already had it at one point. This was months ago. But when they added
if my collection and the poo-poo collection got removed,
I would be surprised.
But you know what? That's the thing with scaling too. Like they probably have to come up. You know what most situations they usually people put a hurdle that's too high for most, but then make personal exceptions and whatever when people verify.
Yeah.
But also communities need to do something. I would love to get your opinion, but like I think I tagged you, I tagged Jason, and different people in the community when this happened. I said somebody needs to do a version of like what I'm doing right now. That's NFTs only, a once a week hang session or something, and it's like no groups that do a drop will be taken seriously by 90% of the community if somebody on the team doesn't show their face, or maybe even hide your face, or something, but like have a real talk and figure it out and just prove that you're really going to do what you promised. Maybe even, I know in crypto circles or whatever, like that want to be pseudo anonymous or anonymous, they'll do things where it's like, okay, Danielle had a FaceTime call or a Zoom call with the team, and Becky had a Zoom call with the team separately, and both of them can at least say they're real people, even if they won't publicly do a thing.
Yeah.
Like there are versions of that in the DeFi space. I would love to get your opinion on, does something like that need to exist, or should we just let it be the Wild West and we'll figure it out as we go?
I don't know. I think personally, if you're trying to sell your reputation and sell a product that you've made, people need to know who you are. And I think to a certain degree, I do understand a lot of people that I know being anonymous because of what they do for their day jobs and not wanting any competition between that and the crypto space. For example, usually developers are anonymous because they're not supposed to do anything outside of their day job. Even just, look into a contract for a friend. Or whatever.
When I worked at Amazon, I definitely was not sitting in my cubicle working on other startups. I didn't do that once. Never once. I wasn't, when I was sitting on the other laptop that wasn't connected to the work network, I was never working on anything outside of what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
It seems at least something to be considered, right? So again, considered from the buyers, the community, and considered from the teams behind anything, or artists for that matter. I mean, again, I don't mean to be too nerdy about Gary Vaynerchuk, but like I was introed to this space because of Gary V. And again, not financial advice, but I'm hodling my V friends because I believe that he's going to do all of these things. And I believe that he's going to, like, his reputation matters so much to him that he's going to make this thing killer. And so like the NFT market is going to go through some ups and downs and some crazy, experiences, I'm sure, over the next while. And through all that, I'm hodling my V friends because I know I've got Gary V behind it. Now, not all of us are like multi-millionaire entrepreneurs, but I don't trust him because of his financial success. I trust him because I think he's sincere and is going to follow through. So, you guys, not you guys, but you all can take that for whatever it means and decide, like, do you want to have that personal accountability somehow, right? And I think that's, and artists, I think, have it's a little different than someone who's trying to do some big project. But it's just something to be really mindful about. And actually, Danielle, your comments are things that, like I wouldn't have thought about. So I appreciate those comments too, that anonymity probably matters in some cases, but it's a decision, right? You're choosing, and it might make it harder in the long run. Once we get past this NFT summer or whatever, people are going to have to show their worth, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I'm weird in some ways because like, I love the fake personas. I think it's fun. But my day job, the real whole reason why blockchain moves exists and what we do is because we invest in early stage startups in the space. So like the main thing I'm investing in is the people, right? Mm-hmm. And I never thought of NFTs as a sort of investment in that way. And I still don't, although I should, right? Like if you look at Bored Apes, right? Like I joked about this last time, but until maybe my most recent car, I think maybe, and even we might have surpassed that too, the ape that I bought is worth more than any car I've ever owned, right? Like it's crazy not to think of it that way, because for most people that is, you know, including me, crazy meaningful amounts of money. So you know, we can't not think about that, and you should. But I didn't. It's for the same reason why I have my comic book cards still at my parents' house, hanging out next to all of my comic books and all that stuff, right? Like I didn't buy them when I was 12 years old to sell them when they appreciated value. I bought them because I freaking love them, right? Like the Marvel Masterpiece cards are like the coolest cards that I think ever existed, right? And I've got the whole set and I'm stoked that I have it. But obviously not that stoked because I left it at my parents' house still.
It's probably safer there.
But I never even thought about selling them, right? And I feel the same way about my ape. But at a certain point, you might need to consider it. I don't know. I think everyone should. But the whole conversation is really interesting when you think of it, like the difference between an artist selling an NFT versus these communities. I think I'm trying to look through the questions real quick before we have to sign off for the evening, at least on the live stream. And you know, I've got this question I think is interesting because it dives into potentially other projects and stuff. So David Kim, he's a regular blockchain and boozer, asked, is the NFT avatar space saturated or still early? What do you think, Danielle, first on this one?
So I think it really depends. So we have this huge population of people outside of the public that don't understand NFTs at all. And that's going to be, you know, probably their easiest way to onboard into NFTs is these projects, because you can buy them at 0.03 ETH, 0.05 ETH, and they're kind of easy to understand and to follow. And, you know, mass adoption could be right around the corner, and who knows, maybe 1,000 of these projects can survive. But right now we definitely have a lot, too many. But it could balance out. It could bring more people into the market.
I think you know, it could be both.
Yeah.
Becky, I want to say Becky, but then I want to say Ashley. What do you think?
Oh,
Becky,
that's
Ashley?
great. So my newbie outside perspective is we're early and there's too much. So I think because there's so much junk. So that doesn't mean there's not room for some really good projects, some thoughtful projects. And that means thoughtful art, thoughtful, what does the art stand for, thoughtful communities. Because I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about the avatar type of space, it's all ego, right? Like, and so I think about it as if you have created something that people want to use all the time, like people in our and sorry, I'm gonna call out a little bit. People in our Discord are like, Becky, you have to change your avatar. I'm like, no, Becky is an ape. Becky's an ape. When I one day sell Becky, I'm selling everything associated with her, and she's not mixing up her avatars because I'm not Becky.
Wait. If you're selling everything that goes along with her, that means you're talking about the Twitter account too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How about your
100%.
ownership? How about your ownership in Fame Ladies Squad contract? Would that belong to Becky? But Becky's the one tweeting about it.
No,
I'm
Ashley Smith's
an
wallet.
IP lawyer right now. Hold on.
So we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but Ashley Smith owns the wallet. But my point, and obviously all this happened. My point is, and I'm not even trying to be too talk. I don't really want to talk so much about the apes, but when I created it, it wasn't even supposed to be a persona of me. I'm like, I'm going to create a fun ape persona that everyone thinks is cool. And if it was me and I was changing my avatars in and out, which I think is totally fine. There's going to be the avatar of the day versus the avatar of the month, or the one you switch back to often, that you can feel proud of and you feel like it means something. There's some symbolism behind it. You're out there proud that you're part of this community, right? So it's not shilling, it's not anything. It's just that and that's why CryptoPunks are what they are now, is because it's representative of now being part of this OG network, right? So all these projects have to understand, what do they represent? And so I'm very excited about Fame Lady Squad, because I think it's going to represent a lot of things: empowering women in crypto, and empowering women in art and technology. And that's the thing. So I'm definitely going to probably have to change my Ashley Twitter to a Fame Lady. Okay. But Becky's the name of my ape anyway, but that's besides the point. But I guess that's how I feel. If you've got some random silly thing and you're not going to build some cartoon or game or story or any long lasting anything around it, like, it's just going to come and go.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's probably people who are like doing what you're doing, creating personas, kind of making it their persona and doing their normal, the sort of pseudo-anonymous Twitter thing, versus people like me who have had their accounts for whatever amount of time and switched it for a day. And maybe when I switch it for a day, now it's been a month, but I'll eventually switch it to my face, although I don't look that different from my ape. So it's just, that's a whole separate conversation. But I do think there is that value though. And I was, when I will say, I even said it last week when we were talking about the apes, that I kind of heard the IP is so valuable, brands are going to start using these and this and that. When I first heard that, I honestly thought of it as bullshit sales trying to pump the price of the NFT. Totally. But the more I thought of it, the more I saw people doing unique things with it. Even me creating that puppet thing and goofing around, I realized there is a huge, huge, huge value, because they are individuals. They are unique. And even 10,000 of them are not too many, right? Like, if you think about a city, right, and a small city, and everyone knowing everyone in that small city, a 10,000 person place would be really tiny, and everyone would know everyone, right? Like, so it's small. Plus, there's the groups, the sort of gangs, the striped shirt gang, the cheetah gang, the pink hair gang, whatever. But with Fame Ladies, it's the same thing. Like, there can be the same thing. The laser eyes, this, that.
That just goes to speak though, like, it is a kind of a way to belong and to feel like you're a part of something. Which, buying tokens, you don't have that. Buying coins,
you do in some way, but it's not as unique and it's not as personal.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that it's easy to flip it off, right?
Yeah.
But once you make it your avatar, you goof around. Like, I joked today, so I said to somebody totally out of these communities who was talking about the value of these things, and I said, the second I made it my avatar, if I ever sell it, I'm gonna feel like a sellout. Like, my own personal way that I live. Like, I don't know if I could ever sell it.
Bored Becky's probably staying with me. I'm just putting that out there. When I gave her a name, I bought the domain name. I set up the IG. I'm like, I'm creating something around this, whatever.
That's so cool. Yeah, see, now Bored Becky can be a spokesperson for different things, and whatever. It's kind of awesome. Okay, I know we're beyond time. Let me just look really quickly and see if there's anything really big in the QA I want to hit and bug you guys about. I think I would love to just ask, sort of, I know we already hit this, and maybe you can give us hints at the experiments you're thinking about potentially doing, because I know you're working it out. But what's sort of next, before I ask you guys to give the plugs and where everyone can follow you? What's next for Fame Lady Squad? Am I sponsoring?
You know the roadmap.
Yeah, maybe Danielle. Maybe the 3 kind of focus points and how we're thinking about the roadmap is probably a good way to talk about this.
Yeah. So normally I wouldn't implement a roadmap in stages, but I think this is the one time where that it kind of makes sense, just so we can have community input and can take our time on some of the things that are more important. So we're going to work on 3 different categories: community building, women empowerment, and like a long-term value add. So the women empowerment to community building could be things obviously that we are working on immediately, but in terms of long-term value add, that's obviously something that we will be taking a lot of time on.
Very cool.
We want it to make sense. We've been really lucky because we've had a lot of people reach out offering to participate, people in this space that, you know, maybe could be partners. There's lots of things I think we can do. We just want it to fit and not be rushing. And
smart.
So
the best projects in the space are not the projects that do a lot of things in a short period of time. They're the people who consistently deliver and whose communities grow over time. And sometimes they're fast, but sometimes they're not, but that's okay, right?
Well, we also do have a community sitting there waiting, when, what, why, where, like waiting for the next step. So it is important for us to have at least something for now, as well as continuing to work on the long-term project.
Love it. So tell everyone where they can hang with that community, and then give us your own personal, all the accounts that we should be following.
Yeah, so literally today, so good timing, we switched our name on Twitter. So if you had tried to reach us with our old handle, you would have been lost. So at @fame_ladies, like you've got on your screen right there, that's probably number one for so many people. In there, we have the link to the Discord channel, which is discord.whatever/fameladies. So that's there. We are working on a website. The old team did hand over the domain, but not where we'll be recreating a website. So right now it's really the social channels and networks. Obviously you can go to OpenSea and search Fame Lady Squad. It is a verified collection. So go, no financial advice, but go check out. There's some there's some really accessible Fame ladies right now. Like obviously we've been through a lot of stuff and we hate talking about the floor, but the floor is at a point where a lot of people can, jump into this project and feel pretty comfortable, even if they're just getting one token. So the link is also there in our Twitter bio. And there's just a lot more to come. IG, Instagram's coming, website's coming. Anything else you think we haven't mentioned, Danielle?
Nice. Your personal Twitter accounts, because that's the easiest way to follow you and see what's going on. Give that to everyone just so we don't miss it.
Yeah, mine is just NFTignition.
I am Bored Becky.
Nice. Nice. Thank you guys so much. Before I go, I need to throw things out there that I should have thrown out at the beginning. I'm Alon Goren, by the way, everyone. I like that. If anyone hasn't watched this before and you're brand new, I'm a part of a fund called Draper Goren Home. We invest in early stage blockchain startups. If you're an early stage blockchain startup or thinking about launching a startup, I want to be the first person to know, because for most of our companies, we're the first check in the door. We want to invest in people before anyone else knows about it. So it's never too early. So go to drapergorenhome.com. We, for years now, have been doing LA Blockchain Summit. We used to call it CIS in Los Angeles. The 8th one is happening in November. We still are planning on doing it in person, so I hope we get to do it in person. November 2nd and 3rd at the LA Convention Center, but no matter what, it's always free online. You'll always be able to watch it here and everywhere else for free and participate virtually for free. And whether we have it in person or not, we're still going to stream it for free always. That's always been the thing. It always will be the thing.
Did you mean to overlap it with the NFT NYC?
No, those guys delayed their event.
Did you know that?
And decided
I know, and they've changed it again.
It was a major bummer, actually. It still is a major bummer. We'll have to see what we can do with that community. But we've had ours for over a year set for that date. On October last year, when we did our last event, we told everyone what dates ours were, and they delayed theirs a few times because of COVID, and it landed on the same week, which is a bummer. But I think it's still one of the biggest blockchain conferences in the world, so I think it's worth going to, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone will be able to participate virtually regardless. And I hope to see you all there. Thank you for being here, Ashley, Danielle. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely bring you guys back to give us updates. Let us know when you launch anything specific or anything cool happens. I'll make sure the community knows about it. And thank you so much, everybody else who is watching. And you guys, if you'd like to join us, go still to meet.blockchainbooze.io for the next hour or 2 or 3, as long as people stay online. The tables will be open. You'll be able to turn on your camera, turn on your microphone, and just hang out with the community. So do it, people. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really cool. We got a great crew. Thank you for joining us, Fame Ladies Squad. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.